Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to this webinar introducing the new features in the latest release of our seismic processing software, InSite. First of all, thank you very much for signing up for this webinar. You will also receive a link to the recording once the webinar has finished. And just a bit of housekeeping, you should be able to access the chat, the live chat, and post any questions that you want to get addressed at the end of this brief presentation. My name is Juan Reyes Montes, and I'm a consultant at Applied Seismology Consulting. So, for those of you that are not familiar with InSite, just a quick introduction. InSite is our seismic processing software. It's an integrated tool not only for processing, as we call it, it's also for data management, for project setup, and especially also for analysis of our seismic catalog. It can work with multiple formats. It's basically agnostic in the acquisition system, so it's adapted to work with either catalog data or waveform data, raw data from multiple sources. It's used at all scales of monitoring, from global, regional seismicity down to acoustic monitoring at laboratory rock deformation tests. And it's been developed over the past 25 years, really, incorporating all our internal research and development, and also through the collaboration with our partners and clients. And as I said, the latest version, it's 3.19 and was released last week in February 2023. So the idea of InSite is to cover most or all of the aspects of the seismic processing workflow, from project setup to the extraction of data harvesting from continuous streams of seismic data, import of data that has been acquired in either in trigger mode or that has been processed by a third party. Condition these signals, that's the waveform pre-processing, that it's the centering of our signal, filtering, etc. Everything that needs to be done on our traces so that they are easy to process, easy to identify and work with them. Classify triggers. Triggers can be can come from noise, can come from calibration shots, or most importantly from actual seismic or microseismic or acoustic emission events. Once you have an event, the next step is processing the event, which involves the picking of the phase of the different arrivals, the location of the event, with many options, as you will see within InSite to do this processing. And finally, analyze our results and export them either as a seismic catalog or as waveforms for further analysis in our own software or in any other third-party software. Right, so we're moving quickly to what's new in this latest release. And the first very important aspect of this latest release is that we have integrated the working and the processing of data coming from ELSIS systems. These acquisition systems are used in the lab for acoustic emission monitoring and ultrasonic monitoring, and we've partnered with ELSIS to provide both the acquisition and also, of course, very importantly, the seismic tools, the seismic processing tools for them. This latest version has integrated all the necessary tools to acquire this data and process them either in real time or in post-processing. One of them is this server leech. The server leech allows splitting the processing and acquisition, so we can optimize performance, so we can have one dedicated machine just working on processing of the data, and a different machine working on acquiring and conditioning that data, preparing the files for it. Also, I'm going to show you in InSite, we have integrated new file formats, both in import. You can find here what's called the BDF. These BDF file formats are the files that come directly from ELSI's acquisition system. So they can now work with them. You can set up if the test incorporates a mix of passive acoustic monitoring and active ultrasonic surveys. You can set up here what are the settings for these surveys, that it's the number of pulses, the interval in between them, and the delay in between the different pulses. It has also been incorporated in the stream visualizer, and also, of course, in the leech. So you can work with BDF files. If you're working on, if the data has been acquired as a continuous stream, you can use this format to extract the events from it in the streamer leech. If you are existing user of InSite, you'll be familiar with this interface. It hasn't changed. It's just incorporated a new file format. If not, well, there are tutorials that show the different options that you have to extract data from continuous streams. So this is one of the changes incorporated into InSite. It's also being added as well to, have a look here, into the stream visualizer. So you can visualize the whole of the BDF file, the whole stream, using the stream visualizer, as you could do in the past with the other available formats. Right, another addition to the new version of InSite is the use of local magnitude. This wasn't calculated until this version. And what's local magnitude? Well, you all might be familiar with this equation for the local magnitude, which was published by Richter in 1935. And basically it's a way of measuring the size of our event, but in this case, very particularly using a Wood-Anderson instrument. I'm basing the size of the event on the amplitude measured by this instrument, and in a very particular context, which is in California, basically, in Southern California. Lately, for similar contexts, the ISPI working group recommended in 2011 the use of this equation. It's got a bit more corrections in it, as you can see, for local magnitude. But basically, what you can see here, it's just a measurement of the amplitude, not necessarily recorded on a Wood-Anderson instrument. A correction, a function of distance, could be epicentral distance, could be hypocentral distance, and some calibration constant added to it. So I'll show you what we've done, what we've implemented in InSite. If we go back to InSite and go to processing settings, and we go to source parameters, you can see here now in the magnitude calculations, which so far you could customize the calculation of moment magnitude, instrument magnitude, and location magnitude. We have added now a new option for local magnitude settings, in which you can work with with the equation that applies to your data set. And that depends very much on the context, on the regional context that you're working on, and the type of instruments that constitute your seismic network. And you can see here that in terms of amplitude, it can use either the amplitude from the vertical component, the mean from the horizontal components of our amplitudes, or the amplitude from both horizontal components. So there are options into which amplitude are we going to use. We have here some constants that we can customize, and we can choose whether we want to use hypocentral or epicentral distance for the distance correction terms in our equation. So it's basically a custom equation that you can adapt to your particular context, and as with the rest of magnitudes, they will be calculated for any located event automatically at the end of the process of the location. So if once the event is located, it will be automatically add this calculation onto it. So let's go back to our slides, and and another incorporation to this new version is the use of Shakemaps. And what are these Shakemaps? Basically, it's just a display of ground motion for a particular earthquake that has been monitored using a surface array. It's very important this because it will be meaningless and it will not be displayed if you are using an array that is not on a surface, or basically a two-dimensional array. If you are working on a downhole array, this will not be displayed. So, how is it used in InSite? Let's let's open a project. In this case, here we have a couple of regional events. In this case, is induced seismicity that were monitored using, we can see here, 40 surface stations. If we open the processing settings and we go to the last tab in them, we can see here how ground motion is calculated. The options that we have for ground motion. We can calculate PPV, that's a peak particle velocity, or PPA, which stands for peak particle acceleration. And this can be calculated using a variety of inputs. It can be calculated using the maximum RMS displacement, or well, in this case velocity, the velocity in the X, Y or Z channels, or an average of the amplitude in the X, Y channels. And same thing applies to acceleration. All we need to have is an array that has been calibrated to a physical magnitude, that it's either displacement, velocity, or acceleration, and then InSite will either integrate or take the derivative, whatever, depending on the type of instrument that we are using, and calculate PPV and PPA. Once we have chosen to automatically calculate this and selected the way it will be calculated, then all we need to do is right-click on our event and ask to show the Shakemap. Shakemap, we can decide whether we want to plot acceleration, acceleration or velocity. Once we select, for example, velocity, we can see here, this is a map of the velocities, the peak velocities that have been measured at particular stations, and also the values are interpolated in the space in between them. And well, this is used normally to highlight any local effect, any local amplification of motion, the response to the arrival of our seismic wave, and also can be used to calculate what is the dispersion, what is the attenuation of our event as it travels through the region of interest. We can, as with any of the planes in InSite, select whether we want to make it more transparent, so it will be displayed here as a grid plane. You can see here. Yeah, and if we select properties, delete, hide, or export our map as a bitmap, graph. Okay, so the final addition to this latest version of InSite is an improvement, a customization in the way that seismic monitoring arrays are set up, both in Frag Manager for those of you using InSite HF, or in the default receiver array view for any of the other versions of InSite. The objective of these changes is basically enabling the addition of Uniaxial instruments in downhole, so the automatic addition of Uniaxial instruments downhole using Frag Manager, mostly thinking about the use of fiber optics as a sensor array, so you can automatically add any number of sensing positions and select one of the channels, and in that case you will set up a Uniaxial array, and also a more flexible way to enable and disable event sensors in our array in order to decimate our data set in case we are dealing with, again thinking about fiber optics, where we are dealing with potentially with thousands of channels, and whether we want to use all of them or display just a few of them, a sample of them, to speed up the process and visualization. I'm going to show you that in operation in InSite. And here we have an example in which we are using fiber optics, which in this case have close to 3,000 channels in them. And we can see it's very difficult to work with this, and we might not need to have all of them. We might not need that detailed of the seismic record, in which case what we can do is, if we go back to the data visualizer, it's open our default receiver array. We can see here we have close to 3,000 sensors. If we select them, we select all of them or a section of them, we can decide in this case show, for example, 1 every 20. So that instead of having around 3,000 channels, we will only show 1 every 20. So we will decimate our data set significantly to a few hundred, so 150 roughly sensors. If we do that, once we're happy with that, we always need to update receivers in our event. If we've made any changes in our receiver array, and we call again the display, we can see that it's now only showing over 100 stations, and if we go to a detail of them, we can see it's jumping 1 every 10 stations. Remember, they are only disabled, so they're not deleted, so they will still be there. It's only that they won't be used in processing or in visualization. And in this case, it will significantly speed up the process. If we want to locate this event, it will be much faster, much quicker. If we only use 100 arrivals compared to 3,000. We've also implemented some changes. This is more like a bug fix, in which, for the case in which we have a large number of stations, it will disable, in this case because we have decimated, there are not so many now, but in the case in which we didn't decimate, like for example, if I go to this earlier event, which has, you can see here, you can see, which had all of them, it will just throw an error message saying they won't be displayed as individual sensors, as individual boxes. Just because, yeah, it will not be practical, and it potentially might crash the graphic card. So they can still always be visualized in the move out, because, yeah, you can see all of them here. But, yeah, it's basically, yeah, a large number of stations. Okay, so this is what it's new in InSite in this latest version. So quite a big number of changes. Hopefully they might be of use for you. All these changes were geared towards making InSite more versatile, applied to a wider range of data sets, and making the process more easier and more practical. Just a final slide summarizing that InSite still is, you can use it in these these different packages: InSite Geo, Lab, and HF, depending on the application that you want to use in your particular application. InSite Lite, which is the free version with limited functionality, but it's a free version for you to try InSite. Also, well, you can view waveforms, you can visualize results. It's got some functionality in it, but of course more limited than any of the other packages. And the educational package of InSite EDU, which includes example data sets, and it's geared towards the classroom. It has data sets to train your students in the standard processing of seismic, microseismics, and acoustic emission data. So as always, well, you can reach us through any of other channels, through our website, just dropping us an email, and you can follow any of our new releases and any of our results, following that in our YouTube channel or through LinkedIn. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Gonna check on the chat, and it seems there are no questions, I think. Yeah. As I said, if there are any questions, just you can always drop us an email, whether you are a user or you want to find out more about InSite, or you want to suggest any new tools that should go into the next release of InSite. Thank you very much again for your time. Hope to see you soon.